Nii, on laivis, jah?
Jah, nüüd on laivis.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture on how to market your business with Google products and also Google Ads. So I'm Marcus. I'm an account manager at ePPC. It's a company founded by the first Estonian employee of Google, and the company was founded in 2013. I joined a few years ago, and what we do is we mostly do pay-per-click advertising, and our main focus is Google Ads, but we also do Facebook and Instagram and whatever is on a pay-per-click basis. But I mainly work with Google Ads accounts, and so today I'm gonna cover three of I'd say the most important Google products that are used in advertising when you're using Google. So these are Google Ads, of course, then also Google Analytics, and then also Google Tag Manager. So I'm gonna give you a quick crash course on how to set them up for yourself and how to make them work for you. So I'm gonna say that it might be a bit confusing at first, of course, because there are probably a lot of things that you see for the first time in your life, and you know, I felt the same way when I started working with Google Ads more and more. Like my first experiences with Google Ads are from around 10 years back, but it was a whole different world back then, and all the Google. The whole Google universe is changing so fast, and there are new announcements and features every day, and every year bigger changes coming, so you always have to keep yourself up to date. But moving on, I'll talk about the context a bit. So in order to have a business online, and in order to make it also work, so at first what you need is really like a product, whether it be a thing that you sell online, or whether it be like some virtual product that you sell, or anything. The first thing is that you just need like a viable business model. You need something that the people want. Otherwise, if you just market it, then nothing's gonna probably happen. And the second component of an online business, have a seat, is all the features that your site has, starting from, let's say, SEO, search engine optimization, then also the site speed, then its usability, design, etc., etc. Basically, your site's conversion rate. Like if you have a bad website and a good product, and if someone has the same product as you and a better site, then of course no amount of marketing money will help you unless you have a bad website and your product isn't usable. And then of course the third thing that is really important is marketing your product, and also building your brand. You know, when we talk about cost per click or pay per click advertising, it's usually, well, the history of cost per click advertising started really around 2007 and 8 when the recession hit, and more companies turned to analytics, so to say. Like they wanted to be sure that they get something back from the money that they invest into advertising. And so many of them turned to online advertising because Google had already developed Google Ads by the time, and also Google Analytics, and the revenues grew for Google as well. They worked on them, and everything got better, and they amassed more paying clients, and so now 15 years later, the Google advertising world is very big, and like Google has been the most used search engine for years now, and also the Google Display Network, which is regular banners, covers more than 90% of all the websites in the World Wide Web. At least that's what Google says. So, but of course, the Google products aren't the only ones you can use in today's world. It's quite crowded. You could also use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, not in Estonia, but everywhere else in the world almost. Then Snapchat also, like you can advertise on Reddit, on Pinterest, wherever your customers are. So when starting to promote your business or your product online, then at first you should just define your objectives. What do you want? Of course, like sales, that's doable. Then you should think about who your customers are and what they do, and how to reach them at the right time in the right place. And like a good example of the difference of Facebook and Instagram or Snapchat and TikTok, and then on the other side Google, is that let's say Google works best for products that are kind of like based on a need. So let's say if someone's car breaks down and they look for a repair shop, then they just go to Google and search for it, and then they see ads, and like the best ad that catches the customer's eye, they click on it, and if the website is good, then they also book a time for the repair. And on the other hand, other products that aren't so much based on a need, but rather like let's say you scroll through Facebook and you see a cool T-shirt, and you click on the ad, and the price is good, and then you order it right away. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you have a business that, like, if you sell something that has to create the need for itself, then you should rather go for the scrolling based places where you advertise yourself. But today we're focusing on Google, and Google has like a vast variety of free products. Like the most well-known probably is Gmail, and there's a website where you can find the whole list of products provided by Google. It is about.google. You can go and have a look. But today I will be talking about Google Ads, Google Analytics, and also the tag manager and how to set them up. So, and before I get all deep into it, there are also places that you can learn by yourself. One good website is Google Skill Shop, where you can actually just start the courses. You know, maybe if this lecture here, like, we can't cover everything, and it might be too advanced for some people, but you can just start your own courses in the skill shop, which are completely free, and you can also obtain the certificates that you know how to use the products. And you know, if you wanna get a job somewhere, then these certificates are a good way to show that you actually know something, because yeah, it can be hard to get real hands-on experience with, let's say, Google Ads. If you, I don't know, unless you own your own company or someone lets you manage their accounts for free. And then also the other part, which is also a big part of my work, you know, like I said, Google is always evolving. Websites are different. Clients are different. You run into all sorts of different problems, but usually someone has a solution ready, and you just Google, you look at some tutorials, you read some forums, whatever, and then you'll find your answer. Now, when starting advertising on Google, you have to keep in mind about 3 things basically. Number 1 is tracking, then targeting your ads, and then also on a daily basis optimizing your running campaigns. Because if you just set the budget and let your campaigns run, then you know, things are probably gonna fall apart. And yeah, if elaborating on these things a bit, then yeah, the tracking is crucial. Many people miss it, and it's also it takes a lot of time at first to get your tracking right. So just take the time and make it work, and test it all out before actually spending some money on your ads. And then also about targeting, you know, 10 years ago it used to be like that people did whatever on Facebook. The algorithms were very easy to promote, even free content. And then people were also very eager to like every new company that appeared on Facebook. It was much easier back then, but now the online marketing market is very competitive, and it just doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money on really broad targeting, because you're just probably gonna pay too much for your clicks, and then your ROI isn't good enough. And yeah, optimizing, that's like a daily task in the life of a Google Ads account manager, that you always have to keep an eye on the performance of your ads, your audiences, your bids, your campaigns, and make changes accordingly. So, any questions so far?
What do you think is the reasonable price for a click cost per click?
About why it's so expensive?
No, what do you think is the normal amount to pay?
Yeah. That's a good question, but it's of course it's very hard to answer because well, okay, if I say well, it depends on which keywords you have, you know, and also the country you're advertising in. You know, there can be let's say you take a really well-known brand like Nike, and you want to advertise in the United States, which is like one of the biggest markets in the world. Then you might pay, I don't know, up to $20, $30, $40 per click, but it usually doesn't make sense. So you just narrow down. You make your keywords more precise, like Nike black sneakers for women or for men, so you get a cheaper click price. But in smaller countries like Estonia, the click prices are more or less even. Of course, there are some keywords that are really expensive, but I would say if you want to start Google Ads in Estonia for any business, you could expect to have a click price of, let's say, 5 to 10 euro cents. I think so, or up to 15 if you're doing it well. If you're using too much broad match, then you might pay more, but yeah. So, any more questions, or let's move on? Okay. Now, I'm starting from Google Ads because this is probably the easiest topic here. Then I'm moving on to Google Analytics, and then also Google Tag Manager, which is kind of like the substitute for coding. Like Google Tag Manager helps you get things done without the developer, so to say. But we'll get to that. So I'll just start from Google Ads. So like I briefly also already said that the main features of the Google Ads network is that you reach a lot of people who have some kind of intent, who are looking for something, and and that's why they are very likely to convert or click on your ad, much more likely than when they browse like a news site and just see a banner. We have banner blindness. You don't have the intent, you just want to read the news. But if you advertise on Google, then you automatically kind of reach the people that you are looking for, or people that are looking for your product. Of course, let's say in a smaller country like Estonia, there aren't that many people at all times looking for very specific products, but still, if you include Google Ads in your marketing mix, then it probably gives you quite a good ROI, or a CPA, like we say in the Google Ads world. And also, how Google markets themselves is that you can spend as much as you like. You can spend €1 a month, you can spend 1,000 euros a month, you can spend 100,000 euros a month. There is no limit. And also, why Google Ads is very useful and important is because everything is measurable, and you get very actionable insights, not only from Google Ads but also from Google Analytics and everywhere else. And also there are many other free Google products like surveys, etc., that you can use. And let's say if you spend 10,000 euros on YouTube ads, you get a free brand survey that's conducted by Google. Now, this is the Google Ads interface. It's very hard to show these things, so I just took this screenshot from Google, and you see many things are blurred out, but that's in general how it looks like. Might not seem too easy to grasp, but this is like the overview tab. You usually look at campaigns separately, or you look at keywords separately, or you look at placements separately, whatever you need. This is just like the overview. And now, when moving on, the question is, for a lot of people that like what determines whether my ad shows or whether it doesn't? So there are many components, and the mechanism is called ad rank, which is influenced by your bid or your budget, how much you're willing to spend. If you're willing to spend more on one click than your competitors for the same keyword, then your ad rank is higher than them. But the bid is only on one component there, so another really important metric is also landing page quality, which means basically that when you have a keyword, so I had to search for Nike there, and let's say you have the keyword Nike, and then when you use a landing page that is relevant, that shows only products by Nike and nothing else, then the relevancy is quite good, and this is actually another metric inside Google Ads that you can monitor, which is the quality score for the keyword. And if this is 10 out of 10, then you're good to go. But yeah, obviously, the broader the keyword, the harder it is to get 10 out of 10 quality score. So that's the thing, yeah. And also, if your ad shows or not, this is influenced by the competition. Let's say this keyword is quite heavily competitive. We have here 1, 2, 3 ads, and yeah, if some competitors bid really high, then you also your ad falls down there in the hierarchy. And ad rank is also influenced by the search context, which is basically different factors of the person looking for your keyword. So let's say that if the keyword isn't Nike, but like the car repair, as I said earlier, and like if you're searching for it from your mobile phone, then probably this search has a higher ad rank, because the problem of the person seems more urgent, like than googling from a desktop computer. And then the last thing that determines the ad rank is the expected CTR, which is the click-through rate. But actually, I'm not even sure if it's only the click-through rate, but it's basically the history of your past advertising performance. So the idea of Google and the product of Google Ads is that people don't just spam users with money and irrelevant ads and searches, so that if you're a good advertiser, if you have a high CTR, which is like a really good indicator of how good your ads are and how relevant they are, so then you also get a higher ad rank always, and then you end up also paying less for your clicks, because the bid is only one thing that determines the ad rank. So yeah, if you've been doing good for years, then it's probably also easier to market everything on Google. Now, moving on. When you're setting up a new ad account, then the first thing that you really need to do is think about your product and do, of course, like let's say you sell water online, then your keyword would be water, mineral water, easy things like that. So at first you just Google your own keywords, you scroll to the end of the page, you see some related searches there that Google offers you, you see if they are relevant to your product or your business, and you just put them into your keyword list. So that's the start, basically. I think I have a slide. Yeah. Okay. I'll go into this once again. So when setting up Google Ads, the first thing you do is keyword research, and then another thing that determines your targeting is when you look at Google Analytics. That's called GA there, and you see these segments of people, audiences, and more precisely, they're called in-market audiences, which means I'll get there in a second as well. Yeah, they're here. That Google puts people into groups of affinity audiences and in-market audiences. And in-market audiences are people that are really interested in buying something, and affinity audiences are more like for creating awareness. Let's say when people are people who love traveling, then you go into the affinity audience, and these are more broader audiences. But for starters, if the market is big enough, can't always say that about Estonia, but usually, like if you advertise in a bigger country, I would suggest starting from in-market audiences, because these people are just more likely to convert, and the audiences play a bigger role in display advertising. You can add them as observation audiences in search campaigns, and actually also targeting audiences, but that's usually not the best practice. You like the keyword is more important in the search campaigns. And then one other thing to do before starting your Google Ads campaigns is to turn on remarketing in Google Analytics, which also isn't turned on by default. So you can create lists of people that have visited your site and start remarketing the site back to them. And then also another thing that you can do is just combine and create different custom audiences from let's say different keywords that people are looking for from different websites. You can put in your competitors' websites and target the people that visit these sites or are interested in these sites, and then you can combine them with affinity audiences and etc. etc. This is like one thing that you can test out until the end of time. Like if you find a good audience, then it's good for you. That's the place where which I basically already covered. When creating your first keyword list, you just brainstorm, you come up with something. Then of course you can also use the keyword planner provided by Google Ads, which gives you ideas of similar searches, and then you can easily add those to the list. And then you can look at related searches, and then also you can use different tools for CPC advertising, like Ahrefs and others, which are basically also keyword planners, but a bit more advanced, and sometimes they cost as well. And then there you can also do competitor research, etc., etc. But at first, just brainstorming about your keywords is probably enough. Now, About these audiences, covered them pretty much as well, but here you can see them in action. This is the demo Google Analytics account that you can access as well. This is from Google's merchandise store, where you can buy Google products, and they have it all public. Everyone can see and just navigate around in Google Analytics and just get to know the interface, and also when you're taking the Skillshop exams, the courses on Google Analytics, then all the tasks are based on this account. And yeah, like we see here, that's the Google merchandise store, and when we look at the transactions, so these are orders, and we see that the in-market segments for business services and advertising and marketing services bought 93 times, which is the best audience for the Google merchandise store. So yeah, every business is different. Probably people interested in marketing people go to the Google merchandise store and buy themselves like a t-shirt or a hoodie or anything similar. And yeah, these are the other audiences, and my suggestion is that if you start a display campaign, you look at your audiences, and then you start from these audiences because they most definitely work the best for you, and then you can move on to audience expansions, find similar people, also combine these with remarketing lists, and let's say all converters. Then you create a similar people to all converters list, and so on and so on, and just optimize these every day, pause and enable different audiences and see how they work. And also one thing that I mentioned is that you should turn on remarketing in your Google Analytics interface, which isn't also turned on by default. So you should do this, then you can create remarketing lists based on your website visitors. If you don't turn this on, then you only have to stick with remarketing lists inside Google Ads, which means people that have clicked on your ad before. But these lists are a lot smaller and they're not very useful. These ones are more useful. Now, yeah, and this is an example of custom audiences and how to create them, which is basically, yeah, you choose website visitors, you choose your customer list that you can upload to Google from your online stores backend. Like if you have customers that have purchased something and left you their email, then you can upload it to Google and target these people. But of course, the matching of these people is based on their emails, and you know, many people don't have Google accounts with their emails unless it's a Gmail email, and also many people aren't logged in to Chrome all the time, etc., etc. Google is trying as hard as they can to match these emails with the actual people, but you know, sometimes it's just not possible. It's usually, in my experience, it's like 30 to 40% of the whole list can be matched. And yeah, also similar audiences, like if you have a remarketing list of people who have visited your site, then Google can provide you lists of similar people with a similar profile, and they might they have a high probability of also liking your site and visiting and clicking on your ads. So you can try these out as well. Yeah, and like the whole point of custom audiences and their combinations is that you can combine them with different kinds of in-market and affinity audiences. So this kind of gives you endless possibilities. But for starters, in-market segments are just enough. And like a remarketing campaign is also, I think, that should be there. Now, we've covered one part of Google Ads. The optimization part is yet to come. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or we can go back to some slides.
I had a question about the international companies.
Yeah.
So I thought about Samsung, for example. Samsung has a really strong marketing campaign in Estonia, and they do it also in Estonian language. So how are they treated from a Google side? If they're like, Samsung is an international company, but the Estonian campaign is like, is it did separately or like?
Usually, my advice for when your brand is operating in different countries, my advice would be to have a separate Google Ads account for every country, and then that's it. Because you can advertise in English in bigger countries that aren't mainly English speaking, but usually it's the case that you also need ads in different languages, and it's easier to manage. And usually also, like, let's say bigger companies like Samsung, they also have their own people working here, they have their own registered businesses here, and they need their invoices, etc., etc. It goes like that, but in general, I think Samsung is probably treated very well by Google. I don't know, I'm not really up to date on this, but at least a few years ago, it was so that when an account spent more than 30,000 euros every month, then you, for example, you get a dedicated account manager from Google who gives you tips on how to advertise your business and how to optimize your ads and how to get the most results for your budget. But also the people at Google have their own targets, and they try to sell you to advertise more and more and more. So for example, one year they were pushing really hard on YouTube and did some campaigns on YouTube. Okay, any more questions?
I also thought about the keywords, also like a multi-language aspect from that. So is it more, which one is better, making the keywords in English or like the local language?
The local language. Mm-hmm. It's like, usually, because like, many people, if you target the English language, it's tricky in Estonia, for example, because if you look at the Google Analytics account of an Estonian company, and then if you go into the language report, then you see that many people in Estonia have their Chrome set on English. So like if you target English, then you're going to reach these people, but the people usually, they don't search for English keywords. So it's like it's like that, yeah. But in bigger countries, there's always some market for the English keywords as well. So should get like a mix, but usually, it's still better to have keywords in the local language. It's just more relevant. Okay, I'll move on. Now, we've covered the targeting or like the setup part of Google Ads, and now let's say you have your campaigns running, and then what you need to do is make them run as best as you can. And there are also, I put here 4 topics that I'm going to cover more in depth, but when reading them aloud, it's you should focus on automated bidding. I'll get into that because it's just better. It uses machine learning, and basically it's better than a human being. You should always test out your ads, not let one ad run all the time. You should think of new ideas. You find a new way of advertising your product. Try out different words. That's the whole thing about online advertising. You don't print anything and it's there forever. You can change it every day, and you can gain like a competitive edge against your competitors. And yeah, one part of optimizing is also looking at different reports and also results, of course, but I'll get into the reports as well. They give some good insights. And also one thing to do is pay attention to the recommendations that Google automatically gives to your account, which is also powered by machine learning, and the recommendations are actually tailored to your business and your account, more or less. So now when talking about bidding, it's connected to the ad rank that I was explaining before, that when the ad auction, let's say you have your keyword, Nike, you have your ad, and you set the maximum bid for €1. So you will never pay more than €1 for a click. And that is bidding, setting the bids. And during the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say now the migration is already like finished. You can still use manual bidding, which is called CPC bidding, and the E in front of that means enhanced, which means that it uses a bit of machine learning. So that means, for example, like if your business is more sought after on weekends, let's say, then if you have your campaigns on eCPC bidding, then the algorithms automatically raise your bids for the weekends if machine learning detects that more searches are being conducted for your keywords. But you can also keep them on fully manual CPC, so nothing ever changes. But you know, if the search interest goes up, then your bid might be too low and you're going to miss out on clicks. And if the search interest is low, then you might be bidding too high and paying too much. So yeah, that's like the thing that's been going on in the last years. And Google has started using machine learning to automate all the bidding and just get better results for all advertisers. And also, I don't have a screenshot for this, but usually, let's say you have 100 keywords and you look at last week's performance, and you see that some keywords are all of the times that they show, they are in the first position. Your ad is in the first position, and then there are some other keywords that are maybe like more broad, more expensive, and there you're in the top position only 10% of the times of your impressions. So that would mean that this kind of optimization would mean that you lower the bids on those keywords that are always on top anyway, you can afford to lower the bids, and those that are less on top, for those you raise the bids. So basically you get more clicks and you pay less for the clicks that you would get anyway, or you get easier. But this is all like history now, and you should actually use one of these automated or smart bidding strategies. And so to quickly comment on all of these, like maximize clicks is, maybe it's good for starters to get cheap clicks and to prove that your business works. People like your site. You know, if your bounce rate is too high, then probably just like lower your budgets. Then there is the target impression share. Sounds tricky, but it's basically you enter your conditions of where you want to be on the results page. Let me go back first. Too far back. So yeah, we see here, we see two of the positions. So let's say if you use target impression share, then you can determine that you want to be in the first position, and then you can enter the percentage. Let's say 90% of the times you want to be in the first position. And then you also set a maximum bid of how much you want to pay for your click. And if your maximum bid is too low, then Google will let you know, and then you should raise it. But yeah, this is also like you have to think about your objectives. I would only advise aiming for the first position 90% of the times of the impressions only when you have a brand campaign. Let's say, like you mentioned, Samsung, because this is also one topic that I really haven't touched, but brands usually have campaigns, separate campaigns for their brand keywords. Sounds illogical, but it is actually recommended because the competition is just so, it's very competitive. Like you know, you can bet that who are Samsung's competitors? Philips, Sony, the others, or when we talk about phones, then Apple, then they probably bid on their competitors' keywords. They want to have their ads there. This is very clear. For example, in Estonia, if you Google for shopping centers, one time I wanted to see how long the Ülemiste shopping center is open, but the first thing I see on Google is Kristiine Keskus, which, yeah, you know, you can argue if this is good or if this makes sense, but yeah, it makes sense in a bigger market. I would say in Estonia, it doesn't make much sense. And you know, it also depends on the on your type of business. Sometimes businesses call each other and say, hey, let's stop wasting our money and let's agree to not bid on each other's brand terms. But you know, it's not always possible. So yeah, I'm going back here. So yeah, trying to always be on top. I would say that this only makes sense in brand campaigns because that's like if people are looking for your brand and someone else pops up, then like it's not good. You're definitely gonna miss out on some clicks. So that's why I would suggest the target impression share only for brand campaigns, because it can be very expensive. And on the other hand, for your own brand terms, the clicks are really cheap. But if let's say Apple uses the keyword Samsung and directs them to apple.com, then the landing page relevance is like really low. The quality score is 1 out of 10 probably, and then they pay a lot of money. So yeah, if businesses have these competitor campaigns, it's always like yeah, you know, if the budgets are really big, then you could have this campaign, but I wouldn't suggest it too eagerly. And yeah, moving on, we've got target CPA bidding, which is like probably the most used one, even though I also like maximize conversions a lot. But target CPA is, let's say, if you know the margin of your product, if you know the conversion rate of your site, then you can just calculate how much you're willing to pay for every conversion. Depends on what conversions you're measuring, you're optimizing for. But let's say if your margin on each product is like €1, then you set your target CPA on €1, and then you're probably gonna be like even with your marketing budget. But yeah, it's usually it's not so straightforward, but usually it's just businesses or clients for me, they just say what's a reasonable CPA, and then we try to opt for that. But these things can also change very much. You know, for example, just recently Google released a new type of campaign. I set these up, and then the CPA is dropped by a lot. So it's always changing. Sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. And I mean results-wise, not that Google is doing bad stuff. And yeah, the other bidding strategies are maximize conversions, which is basically that the budget that you enter is maxed out, and the algorithms are looking for people that convert the most. But you should also keep in mind that you need 30 conversions every month for any of these automated bidding strategies, actually. So that would mean 1 conversion per day. But you know, if we're talking about an online store, you usually have more. You don't only measure the purchases as conversions, but you also measure like adds to cart, registering as a user. I don't know, you can even measure people that spend more than 5 minutes on the site. These all can be conversions, and if it helps your business, then just optimize towards these things. And then there is also maximize conversion value, which is maybe the trickiest one to use, and the ideal way to use it is that you have the e-commerce plugin set up on your Google Analytics account, and the revenue, like I showed you before, this all reaches Google Ads, and then it is also matched to your campaigns, to your keywords, and then the algorithms basically try to maximize your conversion values. The easiest example is that purchases, like let's say one keyword brings you €1,000 purchase, other keywords bring you €10 purchases, and then so the algorithms bid higher on these keywords that bring you €1,000 purchases. And now I'm moving on to a bit more of a topic that's more easier to grasp, which is updating and uploading new ads and evaluating their performance. The rule of thumb is that when you have ad groups in your campaigns, then when talking about search ads, and actually all kinds of ads, actually, you should always have variations of your ads. Google suggests you have 3 ads per ad group for them to be rotated evenly and to get the best result out of your campaigns. And then you let them run for some time. 2 weeks is the ideal time, actually. And then if you are using the new responsive versions of the ads, which are like the standard now, you can also create regular expanded text ads, but they are going away by the end of June. So the future is all responsive now. And what this means basically is that you have 15 headlines, 5 descriptions, like many assets in your ads, and if you use automated bidding, then actually the algorithm matches all the headlines and the descriptions with the search query of the user, and then after some time it provides you results of how each of your headlines or descriptions work. And let's say after some time, when some of the performances are low, then you just change them, and then in the future you will get better results. And another thing while optimizing your campaigns is looking at the search terms report and also the auction insights report. The search, that's not a good screenshot, but I hope you can see. That's the search terms report, and we have here Farmhouse 6, which is added by the advertiser here. It has 2 clicks, but it's probably I haven't talked about match types, but there currently are 3 match types. I think broad match modifier is gone. If the person adds Farmhouse 6 as an exact match type keyword, then only the ad is only shown on this exact search query, Farmhouse 6, and then the search terms report would be including only this keyword as well. He probably has it on a broad match match type, because there is also phrase match, which means that your ad shows up on Farmhouse 6 in Idaho, things like that. The phrase has to match. And broad match is that basically, in a simplified way, like one word has to match. And Google is also expanding broad match. It can also include synonyms now. So this is probably a search term report for the broad match keyword Farmhouse 6, and as you can see here, there are other keywords, and so you get ideas from them, and you also see what the click rates are. So for example, okay, you also have to keep in mind that if you have more impressions, that the CTR is going to be lower. Usually when optimizing, you put on a filter and look only at keywords that have a reasonable amount of impressions. Let's say here we would put like, I don't know, more than 10 maybe. So judging from that, all of these, this one, they're like quite good. These ones, they should just have more impressions to make like a conclusion on how good these keywords are. But there are also other indicators, like the cost per click. You know, if it appears too too expensive for you, or if the keyword isn't relevant at all, then you can just exclude it from your campaigns, add it as a negative. And of course, yeah, you should also look at conversions. That's like not the whole report. We see that these keywords have brought 5 conversions. I only see 1 here. That's also okay. You definitely want to add the keyword that brings you conversions, because that's the most important for your business. And yeah, that's how it's done. You create your first initial keyword list, and then you start looking at the search terms a few weeks after, and then you see what else people are looking for and what to add to your campaigns, and which keywords to exclude. Now, there is also the Auction Insights report, which is where you can see competitor activity, like I mentioned earlier, like the Samsung Apple thing. Like here, you can see competitors that are bidding on your keywords. This is probably from, I took it from Google as well. It's probably from some kind of a travel or booking website. You see the advertiser is here, and yeah, probably not a big advertiser, because the impression share here means that you know, in the Google interface you can just hover your mouse on the impression share, and then it shows you the definition. But the impression share here means that out of all the keywords that this advertiser has in his campaigns, he received less than 10% of the impressions that he could have. And so when looking at competitors, Booking.com being probably the biggest, with the biggest impression share as well, they got 57% of all the impressions that they were eligible to receive. So to put it into an example is that, let's say the keyword is hotel. So yeah, like if your bid is very high, like we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 advertisers. Not all of them make it to the first page, not even to the bottom of the first page. So yeah, someone loses an impression there, and like Booking.com probably has the biggest impression share, so that means probably has the biggest budget, so that means they also have the biggest impression share. But yeah, all advertisers, they have different keywords, and you know, some of the keywords are more relevant to others, and that's why Booking.com also can't be like 100%. No one is 100%. Let's say when talking about brand campaigns again, that's an easy example of like yeah, this Auction Insight is for yeah, I don't know what's selected there under the search campaigns, but if you look at your brand campaign only, then it's probably so that and like I also told about the target impression share, which is here. Like let's say you have the target impression share on 90%, and you probably get it because your quality score is just so high for the brand keywords, and you show up on like all of the searches, I think. Yeah, so like in brand campaign, it's the impression share is usually like 98 or 99%. Yeah, maybe an interesting thing of why it's not 100%, but like if you use automated bidding, then Google, the algorithms know of some user profiles that might Google for your brand, but they never click or they never convert, and then in the end the algorithms decide not to show them the ad at all, because the history just shows that they don't convert. The last topic about optimizing your Google Ads is are the recommendations. The recommendations, they look like this. There's also the optimization score of your whole account, which is important. I don't know if it influences ad rank specifically, but probably, yeah, because ad rank, the 5 components I was talking about, it's not only that, it's like this, as you can imagine, it's like the black box of Google. That's how they make their money, maybe. I don't know, but like there are many factors. Like if your optimization score is good, that means you're up to date with Google's different best practices, and you're also helping their business objectives. So your clicks are probably gonna be cheaper. But yeah, even if you don't want to use all the recommendations, you can just dismiss them, and that's it. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, let's move on. Now, I've been talking over an hour already. Okay, I'll speed up. Now, Google Analytics. That's like probably one of the most well-known tools for online marketers, and it's also like a very good free tool. You have the 360 Google Analytics 360 Business G Suite, whatever, that some really major enterprise level companies use. But for most people, the free version is sufficient. So you can see your usage data. You can see how many users visit your site, how they interact with your site, and let's get into it. So here's like a graph to just describe what Google Analytics does. It just reads your traffic, and you can see where your users come from. This is the new a screenshot of the new GA4 interface. There are many people. Google is also migrating to GA4 because we now live in an app-based world, and apps are so connected, and GA4 is basically a new kind of tracking system. It's a bit different from the universal analytics that used to be everywhere, but basically GA4 is it makes it easier to track apps and web pages simultaneously. Universal analytics, on the other hand, this is more convenient on websites. And that's how they look. You can Google the demo accounts, you can use them, you can just browse around these menus and see what's happening in the Google merchandise store. And the topics about Google Analytics are how to install it, how to start using it, and then also I recommend installing both Universal Analytics and GA4, or just go with GA4, whichever you like, because Universal Analytics is probably going to be discontinued in like a few years. And then the views, not gonna get too into detail on the views, but you should have master testing and raw data views, which is basically like raw data view includes all internal traffic, like if you test out your own online shop, but you should filter this out in the master view so that it doesn't really mess up your conversion rates, etc., etc. And then also, yeah, the testing view where you set up different goals. And one thing to make Google Analytics seamlessly work with Google Ads account to the analytics account, because then the auto tagging really works, and you can use the benefits of auto tagging. Now, what like concerns the other marketing channels that aren't Google Ads or Facebook Ads or other bigger platforms that have auto tagging enabled. You know, if you send newsletters, then MailChimp also has auto tagging enabled. That whenever a user clicks on your ad or a link in your newsletter, then it's automatically tagged, and Google Analytics can read the data from these links, and you can track your marketing. But it is usually not the case for referral traffic. Like as an example, I took here like a blog post. Let's say you buy a blog post, and then you have links there to your website, and then you should tag them this way, and you will get a tagged link, which the Google Analytics interface then reads. And yeah, there is a tool for that. Quite not the best URL, but yeah, I think we're going to share the slides, and then you can copy it, or you can just Google for Google URL Builder is what the tool is called. And yeah, when you build your URLs, you see here in the analytics interface that, like, if you enter here, the campaign source is influencerblog.com, and the medium is blog post. Then here you also see the source and medium, and then the influencer blog and blog post will appear here, and then you also see how many transactions and all things you get, and then you can evaluate your marketing performance. Here on this example we have Google and CPC and some affiliate partners as well. Now, quickly covered the analytics. Any questions? Anyone need setting up something? No? Alright. Now, moving on to Google Tag Manager, which is, I bet, for people that really haven't been managing Google Ads themselves, it's not like a very well-known tool, but this tool is kind of like the root or the basic of all the things that I was talking about before, Google Ads and Google Analytics. This tool is where, for example, you create your conversions for Google Ads, and where you create your events and goals for, well, not necessarily all goals, but let's say goals based on events or just regular events in Google Ads. And also with the Tag Manager you can set up other things as well. For example, Hotjar, which tracks the mouse movement of the users on your website, etc., etc. There are different tags. That's what they're called, tags. Basically, they are snippets of code that track some activity on your website. And before the Tag Manager was released, before that you had to I have a screenshot on that, but before that you basically you had to paste snippets of code into the source code of your web page, and basically you had to know at least HTML, but you should be a developer. If you have like 10 different tracking codes on your site, then it might get a bit tricky. But Google Tag Manager does this all for you. So here is also like an illustration that your website is on the left, and then Google Tag Manager uses all the tracking codes, puts them onto your website, basically. Like they exchange information. A person comes from Google Ads to your site, does something, and then via the tags, the conversions, the purchases, the transactions are sent back to Google Ads. And it's the same for other platforms that you're using, whether it be Analytics or the Facebook Pixel or the LinkedIn Insight tag. Yeah, the different platforms have different names for their tracking tags. Here's a screenshot of the setup of Google Tag Manager. But mostly all the setups of Google products are quite easy. You just fill those things out, put your country, whatever is needed, the target platform, etc., etc. And so that's a screenshot of the Tag Manager interface. Here is how you create tags. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but basically you go to tags, you select the tag from the list. Like, let's say you select the Google Analytics tag, and then you put your measurement ID into it, and then you just publish your container, and that's it. You have installed Google Analytics on your site without using any coding. But the tricky part is that you have to insert the code of the Tag Manager at first, because in order to get Tag Manager to work, you need to paste or insert the code into your website's source code. And now, when doing this, here is that's the example for WordPress. And most website backends, like I don't know, Drupal, whatever people use, Magento for e-commerce, Shopify, they have those things built in. Well, this is like a plugin called Insert Headers and Footers for WordPress, but this all can be done without any knowledge of coding, and this is probably the hardest part. When you set up your Tag Manager account, you get these code snippets, and you just add them there. You click Save, and then you've got your Tag Manager working, and then you can set up Google Analytics, Google Ads conversions, the Facebook pixel, everything via the Tag Manager interface like this. And you don't have to code, so it's very convenient. Here are just some important tags to set up when starting advertising on Google. Like the first thing is called the Google Ads conversion linker tag, which is like the Facebook pixel, which is probably more well known. It exchanges information between the website and the Google Ads account. And then also another thing to install via Tag Manager is Google Analytics, also Google Analytics 4, which is the new standard, and then like all the other conversions for your Google Ads account, like let's say an add to cart conversion, a new registered user conversion, a purchase conversion, etc., etc., whatever you like. Other examples of what you can add with Google Tag Manager. There's also Microsoft advertising, which is Bing advertising, which makes up a bit less than 10% of all the searches done in the world. If you want to reach an older audience, then you should use Microsoft advertising. This might be getting too in-depth already, but actually when you set up Google Ads, you don't need to set up separate Google Ads conversions through Tag Manager. You can import conversions from Google Analytics as well, but there's the attribution issue that I don't have a slide on attribution, which is actually a really important topic, but basically if you import conversions from Google Analytics, the conversions are attributed always as last click. So that, let's say you advertise on Google, someone clicks on your ad, browses your products, ends the session, comes back 3 days later as a direct traffic, like types in your web page, completes the purchase. Then this conversion would be attributed to direct traffic, and then the conversion would not be imported into Google Ads, and then your algorithms don't have enough data to optimize towards them. But if you make dedicated Google Ads conversions, then this conversion would be counted into Google Ads, and that's a lot better. That's like 2 times the work, but still, if you want to get results, then I recommend doing it. And it's not that much work either with Google Tag Manager, because it's so easy to set everything up. And also if you want to create events or really meaningful goals, like let's say a PDF download, then you have to do this with Tag Manager. You have to set up a tag that counts every PDF click on your website. And here quickly I'll also show you how to track a button click. Basically that's how Tag Manager works. This is awfully complicated, so I'm moving on. Basically you enter the preview mode, you click on this button here, and then you see the info of the click of all the data that's been recorded. When you click here, then you see that the click has a class which is btn as in button, and then the button also has a text which is request demo, and then when you want to do these are variables, basically all these things are variables. You enable them and then you see the data. And then when you create the conversion, you choose your tag type. Let's say it's the Google Ads conversion, and then you create the trigger of when the tag fires, and you create the trigger for clicks, and not all clicks, but some clicks, and only when it matches the click class of btn and the click text of request a demo. You put these here, click save, click preview, and in the preview you see the click. You move to the tags column here, and then you see that your newly created tag is working, and it's sending it to Google Ads, and then you can publish your conversion, and then you are done, and the algorithms can start optimizing towards these conversions. So yeah, tag manager might be the trickiest part of this talk, this lecture here, but there are good tutorials, and also there are good courses in Google Skills Shop which really start from the beginning, and they are a lot easier to follow, and but they also take more time. So that's where you can have a deeper look into it. Questions about the tag manager?
From a user's point of view, are like tags embedded in the privacy and conditions agreement, or yeah?
That's a really good question as well. Like, yeah, I guess I'm as much as an expert on GDPR as everyone else is, except maybe lawyers. But from my experience, currently Germany is the only country that actually fines people that track people who don't accept cookies. Of course, the best practice is to not track people who don't accept cookies, but since it was done mandatory, you're gonna lose out like on average 50% of the data, which is like sometimes catastrophic. And I believe that currently it's like a gray area, because you know, tracking actually it's always anonymous. No one knows that it's you. No one can. Yeah, I'm not talking about the clicks, the click IDs, but whenever you click on a Google ad, you're being assigned a click ID, which is like a long number, and that's like the key to tracking all your actions, not your email, nothing else. So yeah, for German sites, I put the consent given condition here, and they only track these things. But usually I try to track everything, because it's just not good if you lose out on so much data. Yeah, and yeah, I'll follow up on all the things that I talked about today. Is make sure that your tracking is set up right, because otherwise you're just wasting money. Then don't target too broadly. The market is just way too competitive. You're gonna overpay for your clicks, and your ROI is gonna be like hugely negative. And then as well as, don't forget to optimize your campaigns, because the market is ever changing, and new things come up. The competitors are active. If you just let your campaigns run and don't do anything with them, then the results are gonna drop as well. And now, if you liked all this, what you heard, you can apply for my company's Summer Academy that we're holding again this year. You can go to the our landing page, eppcdigital.com/summer, and this is like a training program that you have to apply for, and it takes place over several weeks during the summer, and then some of the better candidates also get job offers, and you get the chance to become a Google Ads account manager with me and all the other guys that we have at our company, and it's really fun. You can go to our website and have an interactive conversation with my boss, that's like a new plugin, that type of thing that we found on TikTok, where the video is starting, and then there's a question, and then you choose the answer of what interests you, and then he's gonna answer your question. Yeah, that's it. So everyone watching, everyone here, thank you, and if you liked it, apply for our Summer Academy. It's gonna be fun. It's been fun every year. And if you have any other questions, then I'm free to answer them.
How can people learn more about this ads in general? I feel like this isn't covered really in a university sense. Like you mentioned the Google Scholar program, but like what's the most frequent educational path for people in this market?
A really good question again. I went to university 10 years ago, where the first online marketing courses emerged like ever. I bet universities have some online marketing classes now, but obviously, they probably don't go too much in depth. Like, it's usually you just learn in Skillshop, something like that. You learn by doing. You learn by applying to a position in an agency, because I've also learned like a lot since I started working at EPPC. So yeah, and plus the whole the whole field of let's say Google Ads only here it's like it changes so much that it's like a constant learning process, so to say. Marketing professionals, many companies, like forward-thinking companies, many startups, they don't require higher education. They don't require anything. They only require that you know how to use these things. So like just do whatever to learn. YouTube, Skillshop mostly. But I agree that it's quite hard to get some experience unless you have your own successful business that you want to advertise on Google, which most people probably don't have. But there are companies like us. We do the Summer Academy, and we tell you all about this again, and you get hands-on experience, and it's not always that complicated. Like, I was just talking about the things that you have to keep in mind, but like the everyday work is, you prepare the budgets, you turn campaigns on and off, you set up new campaigns, which isn't all that complicated as like the tag manager. You don't have to set up conversions every day. You just should know it, but you learn. I also was helped by other people in the beginning, but now I'm helping others, and so that's that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.